What really obvious thing have you only just realized? Please like, subscribe and comment so I can create more videos for you. The first time I visited the USA I was on my own and in NY and going to all the museums. I kept seeing signs that said no strollers and thought, because we call strollers prams in the UK, that you guys are super strict about the proper amount of attention required to visit a museum. I actually pretended to show more interest than I had in order not to be thought of as some deadbeat out for a casual stroll. It wasn't until about day 3 that I saw a no stroller sign that included a graphic for idiots. Edit. Whoa. Thanks for the gold and silver and 40x a comma. Oh, my first visit to the States, I went to a supermarket on my own and at the checkout the lady asked me paper or plastic. And I didn't know what she meant, so I said I have cash, and she very politely didn't tell me I was an idiot. She was in fact asking what type of carrier bags I wanted my shopping putting in, instead of how I was going to pay. I always thought you can't have your cake and eat it, too was a weird saying because why wouldn't I be able to eat my freaking slice of cake? It's my cake. Nobody was telling me that I can't have my cake. Turns out then you can't eat the cake while also still retaining it. Once it is eaten, it is gone. An idiom I did not understand until this year. I am 27. Edit. Thank you for the silver, kind stranger. My boyfriend did not know that his electric toothbrush has a timer on it that goes off at 1 minute and 2 minutes. He actually returned it and got a new one thinking it was broken, since the timer is just a brief sort of pause reduction in the vibration. He would be like, WTF, I literally just charged this fucking thing thinking that the battery was already dying. One day, and I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, I brought up how I liked that my toothbrush let me know when I had brushed long enough, and it was like a light bulb went off in his head and suddenly he put it together that was what his toothbrush was doing all along. My boyfriend didn't realize the red light on his electrical toothbrush was indicating he was brushing too hard until I mentioned it to him. For a long time I thought to bust a nut meant that you were going to kick a guy in the balls or beat him up. So anytime I was getting worked up or angry talking about some guy I would say I'm going to bust his fucking nut, not knowing the real meaning. Nobody ever said anything, but it was always followed by my friends laughing, so I assumed it was because I was being dramatic. Years go by and my coworker is telling me about some rude person he met and I said you should definitely bust that guy's nut, to which he paused and said, do you even know what that means? Suffice it to say I was extremely embarrassed and horrified when he explained it to me. Edit. Oh wow. Thank you for the silver. Glad my first silver had to do with busting a nut. PEs. For those who were asking, to bust a nut where I'm from means to ejaculate everywhere or jerk someone else off. Edit 2. Gold. Wowie. I'm glad this made people laugh. Feeling much better knowing a lot of other folks made similar mistakes. Ahaha. I was in a marketing meeting, led by a guy who wasn't quite fluent in English. He kept talking about penetrating markets, in particular breaking into the female demographic with. He thought the new campaign would penetrate at least 30% of women. This excited him greatly. Not just now, but I think it applies. I'm currently in my mid-30s. I didn't realize until I was about 28 years old that my mom's name was Betty and her sister's name was Wilma. Betty and Wilma. From the Flintstones. And yes, they were definitely named after the cartoon. I asked. Flash forward 2 years later, my Aunt Wilma informed me that they were fraternal twins. Again, another thing for 30 years I had not known. Edit. A few folks have asked for a bit of context on the twin thing. My mom died when I was fairly going, so I never had her birthday as a thing. I wasn't super close to Wilma, so I wasn't really celebrating hers either. I guess it was just known in my family, so nobody ever mentioned it until totally randomly she said something about it. On the name thing, they actually both went by nicknames their whole lives, so I never even thought of them as Betty and Wilma, but just Mom and Aunt Cookie. She likes to bake. My mom used to make my sisters and I belly buttons for dinner. I was 27 when I realized that they were actually tortellini, but she knew we were dumb kids and would refuse something named so strange even though they were delicious. Edit because people are still seeing this apparently. Once she was making fried shrimp for dinner. My sisters and I hated fried shrimp but we loved popcorn shrimp from Long John Silver's. We complained so my mom said okay, go away and I'll make you some popcorn shrimp instead. We left and she says she took half the shrimp she was already using and cut it into and then fried it that way. We cleaned the fridge and bowl. We were dumb kids and she was a good, smart mom. I tell my kids that canned green beans are French cuts. They love them. If they knew they were green beans they'd be so angry. When I was a kid my mom told me my rabbit Rosie went to live on a farm. In my early 20s I saw an episode of The Sopranos where everyone makes fun of Tony when he realizes his dog didn't really go to live on a farm. That's when I realized Rosie had not gone to a farm either. Edit. I would like to officially apologize for the cascading wave of terrible realizations my post has caused. Truly we sit on thrones of lies. Edit 2. It turns out a lot of animals really do get to go live on the farm from the responses here so that's cool. I was in high school, but at home sick watching some terrible made-for-TV movie. The boy's dog had to be put down and the parents said he went to live on a farm and I was like wait. Is that what happened to my parrot 10 years ago? Question mark? That Michelangelo's David is David from David and Goliath. How did I not know this? I thought it was just dude called Dave. Edit. I love how many of you just learned this today or very recently, and just thought he was some dude called Dave too. We got there in the end guys. Better late than never. Edit. I never knew there was a sling. I thought it was his trousers. Yes, I honestly thought that. Never saw the rocks. Edit. I'm gonna need some more Dave's not here. Man comments before this post is complete. I did eventually realize this but I thought the same thing for years until I was actually like studying a picture of David and I was like what the fuck is in his hand. Then I googled it and they said it was the stones he used to kill Goliath and I just went through a whoop. You know how Will Smith moves to LA in The Fresh Prince of Bel, where because he gets in a little scrap with some neighborhood troublemakers and his mother sends him across the nation in fear. That's because they were gang members. Will Smith was a young black man in West Philadelphia in the early 90s, and he easily could have been killed for insulting some gang members. One of the goofiest shows ever aired was based on the duality of a boy who was sheltered by his incredibly affluent family after he was forced to flee his home for fear of being shot by gang members. Real shit, man. OMG, did you ever see the student-made trailer for that show as a serious drama? It is awesome and I wish they'd make it. Here's the link YouTube webpage. A decade or so ago, but I was in my mid to late 20s. I was looking at my wife in a mirror and asked if she could see me. She could. I moved to the side more, looked at her in the mirror again and asked if she could see me now. Oh, you know that if you can see me in a mirror I can see you, right? So obvious and yet it blew my fucking mind. Bonus. I was walking down the street one day after high school and my brain suddenly pipes up, oh, it's not just funny because they were both named Daryl, but because why would parents name two kids the same name? In my defense I was very young when I watched New Heart reruns. This thought popped into my head probably 10 or so years after I'd last seen an episode. I'm in my 50s. I grew up in a rural area north of New York City. I'm a veteran. I'm reasonably intelligent, reasonably well traveled. I've been hearing and repeating this expression on and off for all of my life. Friend acquaintance 1. Hey, man, see you soon. Friend acquaintance 2. Not if I see you first. Smirk. It's just within the last few years that I realized that's almost always joking. Kind jab at friend acquaintance 1. It was so ritualized as a way to say goodnight to a buddy, that it never occurred to me that it meant that the friend would choose to avoid the other person. Huh. I guess I just always thought of it as a threat played jokingly. Like they're gonna take you out. My grandpa used to ask me when I was a kid if I could talk without moving my lips. Being a dumbass kid I would always give it my best effort, and thought I was pretty good at it. 20 years later I realized the old bugger was just telling me to shut the fuck up, haha. Too bad I can't let him know I finally figured it out. Edit. Thanks for the silver, kind stranger. I'm glad this hopefully got a chuckle out of some you. I know it always gave him a grin when I failed to figure it out. Have a great night everybody. Edit 2. Well, I'll be damned. First silver and gold, it's almost like Rudolph is playing. Bad holiday dad joke. Thanks you guys. I'm glad that it's this post that got some love. This wasn't super recent, but it was a mind-blowing moment for me. About 7 years ago my friend got me a pair of these Shure earphones, Guitar Center web page, for Christmas. I felt they were okay earphones, not the best, but they pretty good sound quality and decent noise cancellation. 2 years ago we took a bus up to Minnesota to visit a friend for a few days. We chose a late bus so we could just sleep during the 8 hours it would take us to get there. We're getting settled and I see him pull out his earphones, which were the same as mine, and put them on, like this, Blogspot web page, over the ear. I never wore them like that. I just kind of jammed them in a way they fit, a bit like how you see here, it Img web page. I asked him about wearing them like that and he said, "What do you mean? That's how you're supposed to wear them. How do you wear them?" I showed him how I typically wore them and he laughed and said, "Wearing them the right way gets a better feel for the sound." I still wore them my way, until he fell asleep and then I decided to give his way a chance. Holy shit, it made such a huge difference. The sound was better, they felt more comfortable, and they were so much better at cancelling out noise. When we got to the first stop I told him, "Why the hell didn't you tell me I was wearing them wrong for so many years? This is so much better." He told me I should have read the manual, but in my defense I didn't think I had to read the manual for a pair of earbuds. Edit. For those of you wondering, he works for Shure, so he didn't pay full price for them. Lol. I love that you waited until your buddy fell asleep to put your earbuds in correctly. I learned that what comes out of the penis isn't just sperm. It's a mix of fluids produced in your prostate, mixed with sperm. For some reason I always thought that it was just thousands of cells. I even knew that they had a tail for swimming and I couldn't put two and two together. I've been lied to my whole life. I'm now better off as a male. Edit. My best comment is about jizz. Cheers Reddit. Never change. I heard, on Reddit, of people assuming getting a vasectomy would mean they would never come again. I just want to repeat, for the reason mentioned above, this is not correct. Men who have had vasectomies do still come. It feels the same. You can't tell without a microscope, or maybe an egg and womb, that there are no sperm. After telling my wife about an a-hole duck that had taken up residence on the roof of my office building, this conversation followed, word for word. Wife, how did it get up there? Me, it flew. Wife, no, really? How did it get up there? Me, is this a prank or something? It flew. Wife, ducks can't fly. Me, wait. What? Do you really think ducks can't fly? Wife, they can't. Stop messing with me. Aside, I have been known to plant false facts on her and just leave them there to rattle around in her brain until she hopefully uses one in a conversation someday. So this was a fair concern. Me, have you never heard of a flying V? That's ducks migrating. Wife, ducks can fly? Wait till you see what happens when she finds out that swans can be gay. Impending death in the family is really hard. I'm feeling emotions at a heightened level I haven't felt since I was a teen. Like every song has a lyric that makes me want to cry. Every time I see your face it reminds me of the places we used to go. I can't stop listening to that line, and today, in a much different way than before. Edit. To every thoughtful time taken gift of reply on here, including the I've got you gift of silver. Thank you community. I'm very appreciative right now of what Reddit is, has been, and will be. As someone who just went through this, it's not all that bad. My grandfather declined slowly for about a year, and really got bad about 4 months ago. I ended up seeing him every weekend, several hours away, and I called him daily. Sometimes he would answer and talk for 30 seconds. Sometimes it would be an hour. And sometimes he wouldn't answer at all. I was the one that he told he wanted the DNR. I was the one that had the conversations. After he passed, I felt relief. There's sadness. I still want to call him constantly. But, more than anything, it's relief that they're no longer suffering. I feel a bit guilty about not feeling worse, but I know he's not in pain. Relief was an unexpected feeling. OHH. My time to shine. So I'm an instructor in the army. I routinely teach new soldiers how to be mechanics. Specifically how to maintain the M1A2 Abrams tank. I teach these soldiers how to troubleshoot complex electrical systems. Last week I realized that one of my students was constantly mispronouncing the word continuity as continue-ity. It was driving me nuts, and then I realized that technically they weren't mispronouncing it. They were just emphasizing the root word, and that I never realized that continuity, a lack of resistance in a circuit, meant that the circuit was a continuous circuit. It continued, ity. FML, I'm a shitty teacher. That I've been suffering with a massive amount of depression for a long time. I had no idea it was this bad. I've let so many things in my life slide because I just didn't know what to do and didn't realize I was so miserable. About 2 months ago, I had a heart attack while drinking and I knew things had to change or I'd be dead before 60. Thankfully my family helped me rehab and I adopted some new habits. I start each day by making my bed, something I've never done since moving out from my parents' house. This seems simple, but I never used to do this. Now it's a habit and I won't leave my bedroom without doing this. Started a new healthier diet and I've already lost 34 pounds. It's a simple diet too. You just keep carbs below 105 grams per day and sodium below 1800 milligrams per day. Fresh frozen fruits and veggies are free, meaning you don't have to count them. Just don't make a meal out of fruit. Finally, no processed foods, which generally means no foods from a box. That's it. Keep it simple. I bought the app, lose.it.com webpage, to help me track both sodium and carbs, and it's badass. I highly recommend the app. I stopped drinking, went back to AA, got a new sponsor and started over with the steps. I wash the dishes after each meal. Rarely will I let them sit. If I do, because of time, I wash them ASAP. I did a sleep study and got my CPAP and I'm using it every night. I'm taking all my prescribed medicines and added some vitamins to my mix. I'm giving myself plenty of time to sleep each night. I'm starting every day with prayer and meditation. I'm also walking when I remember to, almost up to a mile now. I'm going to try and do this 4 times a week, but it's tough finding time to do this. I try to clean something every day, sometimes numerous things, and I'm starting to see my house becoming cleaner and cleaner each day. I let it get really fucked up. I noticed today how good I'm feeling and how different my life is from 2 months ago. I'm stunned and finally realized how miserable I was. It might sound silly, but I honestly didn't have any idea how depressed I was. Edit. Thank you for the gold and silver, stranger. I've realized that maybe I'm an addict and that maybe spending most of my last few years in some state of insobriety whenever I had a spare moment wasn't a wise choice. That maybe I should get off my ass and go to therapy and get medication, instead of trying to bury my pain in whatever will get me fucked up. That maybe I have depression and I can't manage it by myself. That maybe I don't have to struggle as much with my ADD by not getting help. That maybe the life I've been aimlessly living isn't at all the one I want, and that's okay as long as I don't keep pretending it is. That maybe what happened to me when I was younger is still affecting me even though I don't think about it every day. That maybe I don't deserve to die alone. That maybe there's a better way to be, and it's okay to get help getting there. If you're experienced, truly capable, and working toward always getting better, then it's very likely that the things that just never make sense and seem harmful or ineffective at best are things you may know better. You should say something. A difficult part of starting at the bottom and working up is that for a very long time you don't know shit. There comes a point where you must start contributing to how the whole thing works. That's all everyone else is doing. If you stay quiet and just keep working around the silly stuff, you trap yourself within the parameters of a group that you could very well contribute to. Despite the perceived confidence in so many action plans, they might really need your help. You aren't just complaining if you see problems and have possible solutions. It seems obvious once your voice is heard and you see that the other elevated positions are filled by regular human people, but you have to realize that you're not the rookie peon you came in as. Your knowledge and wisdom can really make a huge difference for a group of folks that work toward the same goal. The entire world is ran by normal ass people. Some people are fucking amazing. Your results may vary,